And one more sad story. Another death. I feel like we've been getting a plenty of them. This is a younger person, I believe. I don't know the age. Sometimes these authors stay a little, maintain a little anonymity, and maybe I just am unaware. But there is a Manhwa webtoon called Solo Leveling that has been blowing up, and people are very excited about. And they're now making an anime of it. And that's all exciting. But the artist for this webtoon series, Jang Sungrak, which his like pen name, I guess, is Dubu, has died from a cerebral hemorrhage.
Yeah.
So it's pretty shocking, I think. And it does say here he revealed that he had been suffering from a chronic illness. So shocking to others, but something he'd been struggling with, I guess, is a health deterioration.
Still too sad.
Yep. So it's really sad too when you like don't get to see your beloved thing come to a new audience in this kind of fashion, you know? I'm guessing he was excited about it being made into an animated form as well, and like discovering a new audience. So, because it's not out yet.
Yeah, it sounded, I mean, it sounds like it was in the hands of a good studio. That they've done Fairy Tale and Black Butler and one other big one that I'm missing.
Yeah. Sword Art
Sword Art
Online.
Online. Yeah, I was
So
gonna
yeah,
say some of the ones that I've really enjoyed as an anime fan. So I mean, that's a great studio. They've put out good work. So yeah, gonna start reading the tune, and you know, we'll hopefully be catching the series when it comes out because
okay, yeah.
I mean, it seems great, and it's
Well,
sad
I'll
that it
start reading it then
unfortunately
too.
took. Yeah, and it's sad and unfortunately took a story like this to get that to my notice. But
Sure. Yep.
hopefully, it can be kind of a beautiful celebration.
Right. Yep. All right. Done with the sad. Done with the sad stuff.
But are we?
Well, I mean,
This
yeah.
first webtoon here isn't exactly cheery.
Yes, but it's fake, so it's okay.
Okay.
It's
All
okay.
right. So we're slowly like ascending
Yes.
out of our
Yes.
black hole here.
All right. So spoilers for the Manhwa / Webtoon. So everybody calls it Webtoons. I understand. It's fine. I think of it like I'm gonna get this be I don't know, squabbling over semantics here
Settle
again.
in here.
Yeah. I feel like in my mind, Webtoon is the format. And I kind of thought of this more today, and I'll discuss it more on the next series that we're talking about here.
Sure.
Versus Manhwa is just the name of a comic from a specific place of origin, that being Korea. So I know they're interchangeable. I will end up using them interchangeably, but I'm thinking more of Webtoon again as a format because there are a lot of people from all over the place that put comics onto a Webtoon service.
Sure. So Webtoon is like a specific like platform.
Yeah, well, Webtoon being a comic distributed for online consumption versus Webtoon, the branded app for accessing this, versus then the comics that are on there, Manhwa, Manhwa spelled differently for Chinese, and
Yeah.
then like American comics and
Yeah.
manga. So
Okay.
I don't know. It
I'll
doesn't
try to
matter.
follow along.
Yeah. Anyways, the cliff. So a short story, taking 3 episodes at a time. We're on episodes 4 through 6. We seem to be intrigued by the first 3, but we had mentioned that it was a little like rushed in terms of
Yeah.
exposition and stuff like that.
Mhm.
What do you think about 4 through 6?
So, I have a couple of thoughts. These panels were even shorter. These episodes, individual episodes, were even shorter than the first 3. And part of me found that intriguing, and part of me was like, "That's it?"
Hmm.
Like, that was real quick, and it felt rushed in a different way. Do
Hmm.
you know what I mean? Like it was so like, this is an episode and it's done. Whereas
Right.
like 1 through 3, like the exposition felt rushed. This, I didn't feel anything clunky in the wording or the situations that were happening. That actually the pacing felt very nice, but it was just so short that I was like, "Okay, I guess I just read an episode."
Yep.
So that was a little like, again, sort of something that was just off-putting a bit. I
Yep.
liked the more natural, I can think, reveal of information, the reveal of the situation, the things that were happening in these panels. But yeah, there was still an element of feeling off kilter.
Yeah. No, I agree. I should look at the release dates because I would be mad if this wasn't released all at once because it's so.
Well, it's not though.
Was it released over time?
Well, sorry. So if you're the average viewer who's not gonna like sink your
Ah,
coins
gotcha.
into it, I mean, it isn't released all at once because you only get, like, the first couple, and then you have to do a daily pass, in which
Right.
it forces you to slow down. So you can't just,
Yes.
like, binge through unless you're gonna spend some coins.
Yes. Which I mean, if I was like being frugal about it, I would be bothered spending coins for something so short,
Yes.
you know? Uh,
Yes.
I just like, because I wanted to, I'm like, I didn't want to, I waited to read these until today because I didn't want to read
Yep.
them right away early and then want to keep going and forget what I read or something like that.
Yep.
So I just, I paid for whatever today and stuff. And, but yeah, I was thinking like it's not a that was not worth my coins,
Mhm.
you know, because it's
Mhm.
not enough. So
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, the situations are intriguing. I felt more deeply invested in the philosophical questions, in the
yeah.
middle 5th episode where, we get revealed, and spoilers are happily up there, so nobody can get mad at me. Um, we get it revealed in the 4th episode that our one of our protagonists has been rescued by
Hmm.
chance. And that was exciting. That was, interesting and frustrating and all of the things because of course, we don't feel that he's deserved it. Um,
Right.
but he gets rescued, and then in the 5th episode it reveals that, it wasn't even his own ingenuity that got him off the mountain. It was the fact that someone was coming to look for his hiking partner whose father had died.
Yeah.
And so it was just like tragedy upon tragedy. And then, of course, this guy feeling horrendously guilty that like all of these things had happened. Like, you know, and he really feels like he's still stuck back on that cliffside. And it's just such a great question of like, did his rescue even matter if he can't like ever live with himself or
Yeah.
push past the experience that happened?
Yep.
Like, was that rescue like a waste?
Yeah. No, it's a good question. There's been some stuff in the news or whatever recently and other things where I sometimes think like, man, could you live with yourself? Is that worth it now? And so yeah, this guy's going through that. And then our cliffhanger in episode 6 again, uh, with the photo,
Mhm.
the photo taken. Oops, maybe he drug his buddy down, and it wasn't the same kind of tear away whole cliff thing that had been remembered.
Yep. Yeah, so,
So
like, morality and memory are
yeah.
funny things that can kind of waver and play tricks on you, and
Hmm.
they're not what you thought they were.
Hmm.
I mean, obviously, memories can feel distorted from one person's point of view, but also your morality can. You
Yep.
might think you know what they are, and then you get into this situation, and it's a lot different than what you thought.
That's why it's good to think about these things. You
Yeah.
really find out. like best where you can land with your morals. So hopefully, if you get in a terrible situation like this, you're firm enough in those that you respond expectedly. So
Mhm.
yeah, I'm enjoying it. Just I think it probably should be 3 episodes long in total or
Yeah,
something, um, something like that. So,
I
and you
agree.
you mentioned it too in your notes here. I didn't know if I was reading something wrong. It's like the repeating
Oh,
moments, or if that was
yeah.
intentional somehow. Like, wait a minute, I just read that exact thing. So
I
it's even
don't think
shorter.
so.
Really, you just cut that
Yeah.
out, and then
Yeah,
so
I can't imagine. Like, the first time I saw it, I was like, maybe he was, like, driving something for emphasis,
yeah,
and then I saw it again in the next one, I was like, "No, this is a mistake."
yeah. Mhm. So, all right. Well, that's the cliff. Next week we can talk about the finale.
Yeah.
Um, Now maybe meant to be. So these
Yes.
are much meatier episodes.
Mhm.
Again, episodes 4 through 6. Again, spoilers. Maybe meant to be. What'd you think? I mean, I think we both came away from the first part, 1 through 3,
Yep.
pretty positive.
Yep.
So
Yeah, I'm gonna say positive again for these episodes. I felt like there were some great, like, familiar steps in this kind of, maybe friends to lovers, we're in like a fake relationship and pretending it's real kind of thing. There's some great, like, expected next steps, like drawing up a contract. That's, pretty standard, like these are our, like, rules for being
mhm.
together. So that was a lot of fun to see, like, what was going into their, like, particular contract. Although as a grown ass adult, I was also like, come on, guys. Some of this is just like super unrealistic. I guess you have to live through living together to figure that out. But
Yeah.
like, one of the no, I think we both had it. Like, the no forcing anything meant no say in the other's personal life. It was like,
Yeah.
okay,
So you're on
come on,
heroin and you like, just like,
you don't get
oh
to say
well,
anything.
I signed the contract. So
Right? Punch your dad in the face, not gonna
yeah.
say anything. Like,
Hmm.
come on. So, it was a little like, you know, this is unrealistic.
Hmm.
And I get where they're coming from, but it's not translating as a
Well, it
grounded
shows
thing.
to me. It just shows their naivete in this.
Yeah,
They're young. They do not have the experience in the dating world, let alone really living with anyone other than their family, pretty much,
right,
or by themselves. And so yeah, like I can see I can see plenty of people not thinking this through enough and not thinking about what this really means
right,
when they write it. They have something in mind when you're saying something, you're writing it down on the list, and then not thinking of what that all implies. It implies
right.
many other things or whatever.
I mean,
So
and as a reader, I was a little annoyed that, like, no forcing anything ended up being, like, translated into, like, no say in the other's personal life. I was like, that isn't the same thing.
sure.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Like,
wonder what it was originally in uh
it was
like
just like a
original
weird,
Korean.
right, it was just like a weird phrasing of, like, no forcing anything is vastly different, in my opinion, than, like, for Chris having no say in his personal life.
Hmm.
Like, if he didn't want me to force anything, that would be different than, like, if he wanted me to have no say. Because I could bring something up in a very casual, like, or, like, "Hey, I'm just noticing something. Take it or leave
Hmm.
it.
I'm
Bye."
noticing your
And
feet
that,
really stink, like
"Take it or leave it.
gonna
Bye."
do something. But then forcing, it's like, hey, no, you have
"I'm
to
putting your feet
use
in this bathtub,
yeah.
and, here's
Yeah.
some, like, Gold Bond foot powder, and we're doing this." Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? So,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's just a sorry, I was sticking on that a little bit, I think, because the first episode was so much about the contract that I was like, "Mm."
Hmm. Yep. Um I'm still enjoying the humor in this. I
Mhm,
still like um we're getting to know these characters and they are always a little surprising at times.
mhm.
The she's like, "What are you looking at me like this? I'm gonna get a job soon." And then as soon as he leaves, like, "Ha! I'm not getting a
I ain't
job
getting
as
no
long as."
job.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, they're not, yeah, not particularly responsible there. But his breakfast was funny. I almost thought about doing some sort of drink that looked like a veggie smoothie thing or something, you
Protein
know?
shake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thought about doing
That
some of
would
that.
have been good.
So the other thing I'm appreciating about this series so far, and this is what kind of made me think of like Webtoon as the format, is
Yeah.
and others have done this, it's just I hadn't really thought of it this way before, is comic books are good for like traditional comic books, they're always good for the kind of verticality of a superhero or something. They make perfect sense for that low, high angle shot of, of a superhero to make them look imposing and strong and stuff like that. So those pages work well for that. And or a wide spread, double over 2 pages, big epic battle scene or something like that.
Totally.
Um, Manga is kind of a similar way, it's but Webtoons is changing that up. And you could tell where on some of them, they're comic books put into this format. Like
Mhm.
they're really written and drawn and put together by someone that
Yes.
had the familiarity with what comics are, in
Yep.
that sense. And now I see a lot more, and this is a good example of it to me. This manhwa that understands it's going to be read on a phone, and it's playing to that. It's formatted as such. Like we get nice big full screen shots to call out specific emotions or things or whatever at
Mhm.
times. We're really not going panel to panel. It's not like structured in that way. Like it's different, and it is an enjoyable way to read, I think, when it's done well.
Mhm.
Whereas some of the other stuff I've read was like, this isn't enjoyable because it's like a comic book shoved into Webtoons format. If that
Mhm.
makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think there's something about this team's ability to tell a story in an intimate but also larger setting that it doesn't feel unnatural to flow between the two on a phone screen, and they really take advantage of all the space that they know is going to be on that screen.
Hmm.
And sometimes it's a really close up zoomed in moment and sometimes it's farther back, but every part of the space feels well used.
Yep. Yep. Because it's like I thought it was a good contrast with the cliff and this even. The cliff has
Mhm.
a lot of like
Yeah,
word bubbles, in there and stuff, and smaller panels and stuff. You're not.
very
It's like
small.
that would make sense in a comic book, big, whatever,
Mhm.
11-inch kind of thing, but not so much here. So.
Yep. Yep.
We also get some new characters we're introduced to in
Yeah.
this. So we have
Smoothly
it.
introduced.
What's
Like,
that?
well, you know what I mean? Smoothly
Oh yeah,
introduced. Like, they don't feel like shoehorned in, like, suddenly somebody has a best friend you never knew about. It's like, these are
right.
our main character's coworkers. Like, he has to go back to work after his honeymoon. Of course, we would meet these people.
Yep, yep,
So,
agreed. And then the way the manager was introduced was fun too. Like we didn't know she was
yeah.
in the car, and then like, oh, what?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah, and then we get, like, a whole backstory about her, like, search for, like, the average guy.
yeah, yeah, yep. Hmm.
Oh, I really enjoyed that. That was very fun.
Yeah, and her definition of that over the years.
Changing, yeah, yep,
Yeah.
checking in on different versions of her who were, like, insanely impressive,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
it felt like as she kept going and going and, like, getting more impressive, like, her standard got lower for, like, what was a perfectly average guy
Mhm,
that she could
mhm.
have, and I was just like, "Come on,
Yeah.
girl, like, you knew better."
Mhm. Yeah, and, their interaction between, her name is, Suyeon So, and
Mhm,
the subordinate Song Choi is great because she's, like, checking, in with him, like, "He doesn't have
mhm,
any prospects, right?" And he
yep,
seems to be reporting back, "No, he doesn't seem like he's interested in women at all." So
yeah,
what a shocker now. I
yeah.
feel bad for her. I feel I feel bad for her. So
Yeah, I like the way that everything was set up here. I mean, there was a blend of like empathy and humor. Like, you were talking about the subordinate checking up on him. He's like, "Look at these guns I sculpted because this guy only goes to the gym and that's the only place I could go with him."
yeah,
He's like,
yeah,
"You think I did this for fun?" Like,
yeah.
no. So that was really fun. And then, of course, like meeting her and getting her backstory, and then kind of having her like again dream of the moderately okay guy being crushed and shattered. You felt for her. You got her like anger, her
Hmm.
sadness, but then you also got like a maybe hint of a love square in like maybe she was pining after our main character, maybe the subordinate's pining after her, maybe there could be something there. But if there isn't in the future, I'd also be okay with it. But it was just enough of like a maybe something to be like, this could be a lot of fun. Watch all these characters.
Yeah. What if they end up seeing like, hey, this marriage is kind of contractual, and so
Yeah,
we're sort of like, whatever. But then introducing this other woman kind of makes them realize this actually is pretty upsetting. Like, no, this
right,
person's mine, and like, so it could create that kind of
right,
blossom their relationship further in the marriage and make it more like a real marriage. So
right.
yeah,
Yeah, it's I mean, that's very classic, kind of tropey,
yeah.
um, will they or won't they in love stories. And, if it's done right, it can still be really fun. And I
Oh
think
yeah.
so far these authors, the author and the artist have made me trust that they're gonna handle things well.
Mhm. And then we're ending on, I thought, a great scene where it's so Seon Yuso is like, who is this woman? Who would be the one to garner the attention, And then she like peeks around the corner and sees she's sitting there like crouched down with a cigarette, looking kind of like crazy. Like, that's who you fell for? Wow.
Yeah.
So I
And she
like
said
that moment
something
too.
like "you again" or "you came back" or something.
Oh,
Or
really? Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So very abrasive kind of sort of attitude
Yeah.
towards him.
It was it was such a weird, like, random thing to say.
Hmm.
Let's see, I think I have it pulled up.
I'm sure they're going to observe
Oh,
some
she says,
some.
"You're back. You're
Okay.
back." And she says, "Huh?" So, we'll see what
Yeah.
that's about.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm excited to keep reading. It's been hard for me to not keep reading, knowing we're just doing the next 3 per
Yep.
week or whatever. But at the same time, we'll catch up very quickly.
Yeah.
I'm sure it is.
And then we'll
So
be
yeah.
those people who are, like, waiting each week.
Yeah.
Countdown to Sunday.
Hmm. But I feel better about this one because so far each episode has been more substantial, more
Yes.
substantial. So
Yeah.
it's yeah. All right, that's been maybe meant to be Manwha on the Webtoon platform. So if you're interested in following along, download Webtoons on the App Store or Google Play. It's free to do so, and yeah, pick it up.